Man, come on, yo. We right here in that pocket, man. We got a good one today, man. I'm gonna play some clips from an evolutionary psychologist, man. I interviewed. I think the community is definitely ready for that. We got this brother Sanchez versus Ankh debate. Man, them tickets, get them tickets, man, is in the description. We got 2 hours of fire coming your way. Gonna open up the panel, hear what y'all gotta say. But make sure y'all deal with this debate. Did all humans come from Africa? No brainer, right? That ain't what Sanchez is saying. Probably get him in here this week, mix it up some more, let him ask a whole bunch of pseudo questions, relying on pseudo talent. The pseudo always asks questions. Never forget that. That's an old New Wapian tactic where you just keep asking questions and hope they get it wrong. And if they get the question wrong, then that means they have overthrown the field. Can't believe we actually went for that. It's a wild tactic, man. Did the people come into the building? We don't get to crack into at least 40 in the building, man. 30, 40, man. Where y'all at? Man, I see Cedric is in this building, man. What's good, man? What it do? It's a pseudo killer right there, man. JG11, man. What's up with you, man? Danny, what's up with you, man? Daniel. Miles, man, is in the building, man. Let's pile up in here, man. Let's get this thing right. You know how we like to do it around here, keeping it funky all day. Just putting together that information, man. I know at times the crowd can be absolutely sued out. Sometimes the crowd can be absolutely anti-education sometimes. I'm just here to tell you, man. This thing is so wild and baffling. We don't even know when we're being anti-education, man. We don't even know when we're being anti-science because we think we kicking science. This has been the model I have been seeing. Most people don't understand science. Whether you green, purple, orange, white, or black. They'll throw in terms like the European science. No, let me say it better. White man science or African root science. That clearly shows the person that's saying that don't understand science. Then they try to act like science is a religion. Then they try to act like not believing that a particular God is the God is a religion. It ain't none of that, man. So I think we need to take an evolutionary approach here in this conversation to get y'all up to speed, man. I see you cool. What's good with you? Outlink, what's up? Yeah. And everybody in this community want to be natural. I swear to goodness, I want to be natural. Did you know that natural was trying to kill you every moment? Did you know natural has caused 99.99% of all organisms to go extinct? That was natural that did that. And we misconstrued exactly what natural is. Nobody wants to be outside in the savannah or in the forest natural. Trying to refigure out what plants are edible, what animals is trying to hunt you, and how to keep them off you. That's natural. Trying to figure out what plants is good for medicine, medicinal purposes. What foods are good for you? How much calories can you get before you die? What kind of water? Did you know you can't even drink the water? I want to be natural. Well, go to a lake and drink the water. Go to your nearest creek and drink the water. Ah, man, they polluted the water. What about in the 1600s? They wasn't polluting no water. It still was getting sick off the water. You could pray to the gods and hope for water. But it's not until those started to accurately figure out where exactly to get the water and how to consistently drink that water that we move forward. Can we live without religion? Can we live without science? Mm, 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 mm. See, we got a lot of people in the chat. We have 55,000. Man, look, do this. Make sure you hit the Cash App. We always go for at least 5 Cash Apps, man, around here per show. Show some love, man. $1 to $1 million. All of it's the same. Not almost $1 million. Make you have a full studio, wouldn't it? Full studio, all the best scientists. That'd be a different. You know, we had these serious shows over here, man, where we answer them hard questions, man. We go against the things we believe. Because I swear to goodness, we swear we natural with the superpowers. But as we recognize those who claim the superpowers, we realize it's the blah, 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 blah. Science literacy is a vaccine against the charlatans come amongst you. Man, we done had a lot of charlatans in this community, man. It's like a charlatan attractor. No. This community attracts charlatans. Why? Because we rely on the misinformation about what nature is. Because we have a twisted view of what nature is. Some think they Hebrew, some think they Egyptian, some think they Indians. They all think they something. That be the crack in the foundation because you don't know who you are. But once you just recognize who you are, recognize that you came from the largest forced migration on planet Earth, then you have a little more armor because now you know who you are. And you may call yourself this, I'm going to say it right now. I'm FBAA, Foundational Black African American. They like it slick, so I give it to them slick. That means that there was an ethnogenesis between those who was a part of the largest forced migration on planet Earth. European colonial powers and some Native Americans. This would form the foundation of what would become America. My ancestors fought in every war. World War I, World War II. They fought in the liberation war called the Civil War. To liberate themselves. They wasn't waiting. They was there picking up the gun. My ancestors went through sharecropping, Jim Crow, civil rights movement. Freddie Gray went through the pandemic, fighting misinformation in our own damn community about it. Think we could just eat some trees and be straight. We going through Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with the misinformation. We going through people trying to tell people who's giving us the experts that they the police or they the agent. We going through all that. We going through a community that think they're healthy because they eating grass and roots and they really unhealthy. The funny part about it is we got visual evidence. You got your elders like John Henry Clark, died an old man. Dr. Ben died an old man. They was eating balance. Didn't have a particular vegan diet. Hell, the vegan teachers died the earliest. That's crazy, ain't it, yo? That's why. They couldn't cheat death. The people that just maintain a regular diet, they live the longest. Now, why the hell would that be? Certain diets are religious. And we will make up all kind of reasons on why. Religious food treaties from the biblical text and the Quran is not scientifically proven. I'm going to go ahead and flush out my colon. I'm going to do pseudo tactics. Herbs. Herbs was great for the Stone Age and the Iron Age. Great for those moments in time. The advent of farming, herbs started to wane. We know that the ancient Egyptians was par excellent with the damn herbs. We're now in the industrial age. The population is off the charts. Human beings are a invasive species. They are in every ecological niche. Will your religion save you? Or will science help you view your natural world and figure out what it is you need to do moving forward? 8.5 billion people, and they say they've undercounted by 1 billion. Which God will step up to save you? Which God will step up to show you the way? Or will humans have to show themselves the way by looking at the natural world and using the tools that they have created called science? Now, this is very, very interesting for those who just don't understand. But man, I'm your host, Bobby Banger, and let's kick it. Quick. Let's kick it. Oh. God killer, we make those ring bass from the cannons. Use me, NW Cole, clear vision, hilltop roofs, no gimmicks. Montgomery, just the tempo, race this turn. Info heavy, show sources, don't chit chat, no proof, fall back. Quick, Rogers Ave, where I'm at, another Pequee, stay intact. Park Heights, facts ready, Liberty Heights, no ferry, yo plain weak, full fast. Gear review, hold that. Methods first, no myth, you replicate, then it's legit. God killer, we make those ring, bass in the cannons, haze ring. You promote pseudo, dust cap, slick or swim, better adapt. Roger that, talk slick love, another Pequee, move quick love. Show sources, don't chit chat, no proof, fall back. Quick, NW Cole, clear vision, hilltop roofs, no gimmicks. Correlation ain't cause headlines, love applause. Rogers Ave, no fake flex, Novin Pequee, no late. Dion Riley, facts, steps, say less, learn up, then rap. Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time. Woo-hoo-wee, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. It's God killing the house. And I come to do what I got to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm standing tall. I'm standing strong. Hey, man, y'all know what it is, man. It's God killing the house, man. Let's get this thing started first, man. Make sure y'all support Napah and the Valley. Are we animals and primates? It's miseducation all around the subject. I've been in this community for a minute, man, and misinformation rules the day. And those that come to fix the misinformation, they call them agents. I'm an agent of change. Undefeated. Science is. But make sure y'all support this debate so we can see these highly intelligent women exercise their intelligence. But on this flyer, they are exercising their beauty. But in that debate, they're going to be exercising the mind. And that is the focus. Whose intelligence will shine through? Who has the ability to separate their religion from their scientific understanding of the world? Do you have a religious standpoint of view, or do you have a scientific lens? We're going to find out, man. But for sure, I had an evolutionary scientist on the show. That was Miss Juju, Miss Tiff, and Anthony Bowman. So I want to kind of tap y'all into my world. This might be a little bit strong for y'all, but let's see. Let's find out. I'm ignoring the chat. I'm going to get back to the chat after I play 20 minutes of this, and I'm going to get back to that chat, man. All right. Let me get here to make sure that all the bells and whistles is working, man. Make sure y'all people is tuned into what we doing. Man, tell a friend, man, the God Killer is live. Let me get right here. Let me pull this up so I can hear it. Let me see if I can actually hear it. Let me see what we're doing here. Let's see. Everything good? Gang is here.
A lot of information on the psychology of religion, why and how human minds generate religious beliefs. And I was stunned that this information was not out there. And that led me to put together the talk that you heard, which I think was in Atlanta. There's a lot more since. And my bias, as you'll hear, is that we really basically know the fundamentals of why and how human minds generate religious beliefs, why we're vulnerable to them. And that's going to be the essence of the talk today, is laying out the mechanisms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I take that.
No, I was going to say, but it was 9/11 that started all this.
Okay. All right. Well, there we have it, man. Let's get right into it. We got a lot of information. We're going to have time for questions from the audience, man. We want to really get into this build. I think it's very important for the Black community to be able to access information that they're not really familiar with. Super solid. And you know what? Let's go, Andy. I'm going to put up your presentation, man. Let's get right into this, man.
Okay. I can't see you, so is it okay to start?
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
Let's go. I'm pulling everybody out the thing off stage. Let's go.
On the dogmas of religion, as distinguished from moral principles, all mankind, from the beginning of the world to the present day, have been fighting, quarreling, burning, and torturing one another over abstractions unintelligible to themselves and to all others, and absolutely beyond the comprehension of the human mind. Thomas Jefferson wrote those words in 1816. And the essence of my talk today is this. Should you run into Mr. Jefferson next week, you could say to him, "No, Mr. President, religion is no longer beyond the comprehension of the human mind. We are tantalizingly close to a comprehensive psychology, a comprehensive cognitive neuroscience of religious belief. We understand how and why human minds generate religious beliefs and why we are all vulnerable to them. The basic mechanisms are increasingly being laid out. Robust theories, empirical evidence. And we are in that position, Mr. President, because in 1816, when you wrote those words, there was a 7-year-old boy in England, Charles Darwin, who would grow up to give us the only workable explanation we have for the design of all life on Earth, the design and architecture of all life on Earth. including the design and architecture of the human mind. And when Darwin published his great work, The Origin of Species, he knew that his discovery would illuminate psychology. Psychology will be based on a new foundation. And it took us about 150 years to start really applying evolutionary theory to the human mind and the architecture of the human mind. And it's pieces of that architecture, evolved pieces of that architecture, that go into generating religious beliefs and religious ideas. What are my goals today? My goals are to give you the basic mechanisms that we all carry, that evolve for other purposes, that leave us vulnerable to supernatural beliefs and to religious beliefs. And what I'd like to do, first of all, again, is to thank you for the invitation, thank you for the opportunity, thank you for coming out on a Saturday afternoon to hear this. I very much appreciate the opportunity. Let me give you a little bit of a roadmap of what we're going to do. And you might want to have something to write on, because occasionally I will give you some references that I think you want to look up, and you may want to keep a little scorecard as we go through this. Another way of thinking about what I'm going to do, it's going to be like a 10-course tapas meal, okay? They're going to be 10 courses. And the first is going to be the modern Darwinian synthesis. The second is going to be human evolution. The third will be the basic structure of religious ideas. The fourth will be on junk food and pornography. If you understand the psychology of junk food and pornography, you will understand the psychology of religion. The fifth course is about attachment. And the attachment mechanism may be the foundational cognitive mechanism that we have that forms the basis of religion. Then we will talk for the sixth serving of something called decoupled cognition, which is what allows us to imagine souls, imagine an afterlife. Then the seventh thing will be something called, the seventh serving will be hyperactive agency detection mechanisms and minimally counterintuitive worlds. And again, these are psychological mechanisms that we all carry and utilize in our everyday life that go into religious belief. The eighth serving will be something called theory of mind. And basically that is, you can think about what other people are thinking, what their beliefs, wishes, and desires may be. The ninth will be what led to the spread of religion. And the 10th and final piece will be on ritual and the neurobiology of ritual, and the case that all religions that we see today, every religion you see today, has echoes in it of the original religion in our hunter-gatherer ancestors in Africa, the fundamental structure of which is song, dance, and trance. So that's the menu. Again, thank you. Buckle up, here we go. So this is the traditional view of Darwinian natural selection, that it operates at the level of the individual. And this cartoon illustrates it, but it's actually wrong. Darwinian natural selection operates at the level of the individual gene of the, and if you think about it, the double helix, DNA, the gene, is the fundamental unit of life. So that is where Darwinian natural selection is going to operate, at the level of the gene. And I love this poem by Les Murray, Life's Slim Volume Spirally Bound. And this is the best statement of the modern Darwinian synthesis. An organism is an integrated collection of problem-solving devices, adaptations, shaped by natural selection over evolutionary time to promote, in some specific way, the survival of the genes that directed their construction. So, my heart solves the problem of pumping blood. Hemoglobin solves the problem of transporting oxygen. My lungs solve the problem of extracting oxygen from the air. At every single level of biological inquiry, Darwinian natural selection. Now, the other thing that's important about this statement is that this is also a statement about the human mind. The mind is what the brain does. And the mind-brain is this integrated collection of problem-solving devices, adaptations shaped by natural selection over evolutionary time to promote in some specific way the survival of the genes that directed their construction. So you're looking at me, I'm an upside down two-dimensional image on your retina. All kinds of adaptations turn that into the three-dimensional sensation you have of vision. What we're going to be talking about are social adaptations, attachment, theory of mind, hyperactive agency detection. Those are also problem-solving devices that evolved and are part of the human mind, and they're the parts that go into religious belief. Now, this is another statement of the modern Darwinian synthesis. It says, well, my psychiatrist says, if it makes you happy, do it. And what this illustrates, a couple of things. Our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors are designed by our genes for our genes' benefit, not necessarily our own, okay? There is at times conflict between genetic interest and self-interest, and this illustrates it. The modern Darwinian synthesis helps us understand suicide. Suicide is an illustration of the modern Darwinian synthesis. If I kill myself and it augments the survival and reproduction of other bodies out there, like my children and grandchildren that contain my genes, there's going to be selection for suicide, which is not in my self-interest, but is in my genetic interest. And one of the characteristics of human beings is we are intensely social and make huge self-sacrifices for other people, particularly family. And sometimes we make an ultimate self-sacrifice with our own death. Steve Pinker has a nice analogy. The mind is like the mind brain is like the Apollo spacecraft. What's the Apollo spacecraft? It's this compact array of engineering devices that are solving a constant stream of problems, only some of which actually become conscious to the astronauts. And many of the social adaptations that we have don't operate at the level of consciousness, but impact our behavior. All right, so that's the modern Darwinian synthesis. Let's turn to the second survey, human evolution. The basic here is that we are risen apes, not fallen angels. We are all African apes, and that's really hard for human narcissism to wrap its head around. Right? And Darwin knew this when he published Origin of the Species. I mean, he had a sense that human beings arose from apes in Africa. He waited until 1870 to publish it. It's really hard to get one's mind around the time sequences here. So let me give you a thought experiment that helps illustrate this. Right? Imagine that today, the 24 hours of today, is 2.4 million years. In other words, every hour is 100,000 years. So at midnight last night, 2.4 million years ago, our genus Homo shows up in Africa, right? It's about breakfast time this morning. Some of them left Africa. It is not until lunchtime that some made it into what is present day Europe. It's not until dinner tonight, 6 o'clock, that our immediate ancestor Homo heidelbergensis shows up in Africa. It's not around 9 o'clock Neanderthals show up in Europe. Somewhere between 9 and 10 o'clock, our species shows up, Homo sapiens. But it is not until, and we almost went extinct, by the way. Homo almost went extinct about 5 times. That's the current thinking. It is not until like 11:20 tonight, 70,000 years ago, that fully modern Homo sapiens is there. You and I, right? 70,000 years ago, and there was a huge climate bottleneck, and we may have gotten down to somewhere between 600 and 2,000 breeding individuals, but we made it through that climate bottleneck and survived. And it's not until 6 minutes before midnight, 6 minutes before midnight, that some of us started to settle down into agricultural communities in what is modern day Turkey in the Near East. we started to settle down into some early agricultural communities, not to grow food, but actually to make better barley for better beer. But that's another story. The point of this is, I hope you see the vast length of time that our genus evolved in harsh, dangerous environments in a life of hunter-gatherers. That's the context in which all of these mechanisms evolved that I'm going to be talking about today. Not all, some are even earlier than Homo. But these are the mechanisms that helped our ancestors survive, and they had to try to figure out and come up with explanations for disease, storms, floods, fires, food shortages, water shortages. And it's very easy to explain those things by invoking human-like agents. And that probably actually had survival value. So it's important to keep in mind that the evolutionary past frames the experienced present. Or as William Faulkner said, the past is never dead, it's not even past. Right? So when you go to your physician and they ask for your family history, show them this. These are your ancestors, your Homo ancestors going back 2.4 million years. The skull on your left is Homo erectus, about 900 cubic centimeters. It was probably 1.5 million years old. The skull on your right is us, Homo sapiens, about 1,400 cubic centimeters. What I want you to look at is notice the difference in the frontal areas of the brain, the frontal lobe. That's what makes us human. We had conquered, as a genus Homo, we had conquered the physical environment. You know, we left Africa 1.5 million years ago. We'd conquered the physical environment. So what was the most challenging, difficult part of our environment that led to the rapid evolution of Homo sapien brains, particularly the frontal lobes? The most challenging part of the environment was each other. And we are a social animal. Your frontal lobe is a social brain. We're an ultra cooperative, ultra social species, and that all those mechanisms are largely in the frontal lobes. That's what makes us unique. And as you know, we got into Europe, maybe 100,000 years ago, and then we spread throughout the world, and we are the last surviving hominid. Neanderthals went extinct 25, 45,000 years ago. We're the last surviving hominid. And one of the questions is why? Why are we the last surviving hominid? And one of the reasons may be is that we achieved or evolved what the insects have. And that's something called eusociality. And eusociality is multi-generational care of the young, cooperative care of the young, what's called cooperative breeding. I'll gladly let you hold my one-year-old granddaughter. A chimpanzee mother won't even let her sister hold her child, right? So we have cooperative care of the young, cooperative breeding. We have division of labor. Think of all the different jobs all the people attending this afternoon do. We defend our homes. We defend local communes, local homes, local territories. And what's crucial about eusociality, any species that is eusocial has altruistic self-sacrifice. We sacrifice ourselves for others, and sometimes that can get derailed, and the sacrifice is suicide. Non-eusocial species do not have altruistic self-sacrifice. And again, we're altruistic, ultra-cooperative, ultra-social species, and the mechanisms that go into that, as I'll show you, are some of the mechanisms that go into generating supernatural beliefs. So again, you want to keep in mind that the context of our evolution is an endless camping trip with close relatives, right? That's the situation in which we evolved. And I think the other thing that's important politically, socially, is we just put aside your racial, ethnic, religious differences, right? underneath our skins, we are all Africans. We are all African apes. We are all Africans. All 8 billion people on the earth today are the descendants of a small band of hunter-gatherers, several bands of hunter-gatherers that survived severe climate change in Africa 70,000 years ago, got through it, and survived and ultimately populated the world. So, what are now, we're on to the third serving. What's the fundamental structure of religious ideas? All religious ideas are byproducts of cognitive mechanisms that originally evolved for other purposes. They are all an artifact of our ability to imagine social worlds. Now, imagine social worlds sounds like a fancy phrase. It's not. All this is your ability right now while you're listening to me. You can think about conversations you're going to have with people later today, tomorrow, next week. You can imagine that in your head instantly. Complicated social interactions with other people. We have that ability, and that goes into religious beliefs. All religious ideas, all religious beliefs are human concepts with slight alterations. And this is not new, right? We keep, in some sense, rediscovering the same things. The great English poet Shelley, when he was refuting the idea of deism, said there's no attribute of God which is not either borrowed from the passions and powers of the human mind, or which is not a negation of those powers. He saw that all religious ideas are based on attributes of human minds. So, another way of thinking of religious ideas is that they, as crazy as they are, be careful about thinking of our ancestors' religious beliefs as nuts, because they're not. They were useful falsehoods. They helped our ancestors for millions of years explain the world, allowing them to have theories that were simple, that orderly, regular, that helped them survive and understand a complex world that was driven by invisible forces. Right? Most of the forces they were up against ultimately were unknown to them. And we're still, if you step back from it and think about it, we're still in that position ourselves. Have any of you here ever seen a gene? Have you ever seen an electron? Have you ever seen, say, the COVID virus? Yet we talk about them as if, the physicists will say, well, electrons have preferences. We will talk about genes do this, genes do that, as if they're like they've got human agency. So you can even catch in the modern world, in our language and in our thinking, some of these attempts to add simple agency to invisible forces which impact our life. Right. So that's the third serving. What's the fourth? This offends a lot of people, and I'm sorry, but it is true. If you understand the psychology of junk food, you understand the psychology of religion. Now, what is junk food? Junk food is a modern cultural creation that creates supernormal stimuli that lands on adaptions we have for something else. All of us here love sweets. We crave sugar. That original craving is for ripe fruit. Ripe fruit was a crucial source of calories. It was a crucial source of vitamin C. We didn't make our own vitamin C. So we all have cravings for that which was rare and crucial. Sweets. What does the modern world give us? It gives us Coca-Cola. It gives us brownies. And I don't know about you, but if I wake up in the middle of the night and there's a peach downstairs and there's a brownie, I may think I should be good and mind my, healthcare and eat the peach, but I'm going to find some excuse to eat the brownie. And meat, we all crave fat, but the fat that we crave was the fat of lean game meat, right? Which was rare, crucial source of calories and protein. And so we have cravings for fat, but the modern world gives it to us in a novel form of, fat-soaked McDonald's hamburgers. The other thing is that in the world in which we evolved, starvation was always right around the corner. We didn't eat just for the fuel we needed for that day. we ate as much as we possibly could because we might not see another meal for days or weeks. The modern world gives us plenty of food every single day, yet we have an appetite that's based on near starvation. And this underlies obesity, diabetes, but I hope you start to see that what's coming at us culturally is a novel, super normal stimulus, right? My pleasure centers in my brain are going to respond a little bit to that peach, but to that brownie, boom. I mean, the pleasure centers in my brain, the nucleus accumbens, is just going to explode, right? And somebody sent me this picture, and I can't not include it. I'm sorry. The junk food Pope. Okay, so that's junk food, and I hope you see the structure of it. What about pornography? Pornography is the same thing. Pornography gives men basically. Pornography gives men super normal stimuli. Women that want to jump on you, and you don't even have to ask them out for a date, right? And it's constant, and so we get intense, super normal stimuli on our sexual predispositions, which were designed in a completely different environment. And I don't need to tell probably anyone in this audience that the terrible damage that the widespread availability of pornography is doing. But I hope you see the basic structure of it, taking evolved tendencies and hitting them hard with intense, supernormal stimuli that did not exist in the ancestors. This brings us to religion, okay? And the same idea, hijacking ancient mechanisms with supernormal stimuli. This is obviously a church service, a Pentecostal church service. And what are the people doing? They're reaching up, right? They're reaching up to God. And what is if you've ever been around toddlers, what do toddlers do? They sort of, come over to you and they reach up and ask to be picked up. That's the basic mammalian human attachment system, right, that we all have. And religions are hijacking this with super normal stimuli, a super father, a super mother, whose powers are much greater than the limited powers of our parents. And the human attachment system was mapped out by Mary Ainsworth and John Bowlby. Mary Ainsworth was a psychologist, an American psychologist, John Bowlby, a British psychiatrist. And I would encourage you to look up On Becoming Attached, which is in the Atlantic Monthly. And if you can't find any of these things, don't hesitate to email me. I'll happily send you the references. But this was Robert Caron did an article on the attachment system in the Atlantic Monthly in 1990, and Bowlby and Ainsworth were still alive, and it's a great introduction to the attachment system. The other great introduction that's out there is written by a woman, Bethany Saltman. It's called The Strange Situation, and it's an absolutely beautiful book. She's a poet, and when her daughter was born, she became anxious about her relationship with her daughter. She did a 10-year deep dive into attachment theory, and she writes this book that is simultaneously her struggles about motherhood and educating you about the attachment system from Bowlby, Ainsworth in the beginning all the way to the modern day. And it's just a phenomenal book, I think. And this is the attachment system. And it's not just us, it's all mammals and primates. This is probably 60 million years old. And think about it. If you step back from it, when an infant primate is born, they instantly look for and connect to the mother and hold on for dear life. That's very complicated behavior. And we have these we're born with sort of innate neural networks that are in effect a form of knowledge. We're born with the knowledge that mothers exist. We're born with the knowledge that mothers know how to help. We're born with the knowledge that mothers are able to and want to and will help particularly when we are crying. This is infantile, early childhood attachment networks in our brain. And what's the echo in religion? Mothers exist, the certainty of faith. Mothers know how to help, omniscient gods. Mothers are able to and want to and will help, our omnipotent gods. And mothers, when they hear crying, gods will answer our prayers. The Virgin Mary will answer your prayer. If you are around an infant up to a few months old, take that infant and just momentarily just drop your hands out of, don't drop the baby, but just drop a little bit, and you'll see the child do a Moro reflex, and that's the attachment system. Or if you're around an infant, who's not mature, barely has their eyes open, and you put your finger in their hand, they're going to grasp it. That's the attachment system. And that we know that we're born with the idea that mothers nourish. They have a face and a melodic voice. If you've had children, think about how, whether you like to or not, particularly the mothers, but also the fathers, we start speaking to our infants in motherese. Our voice changes, right? That's hardwired. That's the attachment system. And that these circuits persist into adulthood. All of us right now, I have it, you all have it, we still have, in our heads, these infantile, these early childhood, neonatal attachment systems, which can still very easily get triggered. And, they, like pornography, okay, they can get triggered by supernormal stimuli. And that they form the basis of all relationships, not just the mother-infant caretaking relationship, but friendships, colleagueships, romantic partners. The basis of this is all the attachment system, and it's a continuum. And the very early part is this neonatal early infant attachment system, which sits there dormant, but can be tapped into and create the illusion. I mean, these are powerful circuits, and they can create the illusion of a loving presence, particularly when we feel helpless and powerless and under huge stress. And how many of you know people who talk about finding God, but they found God when they were in enormously stressful situations? Now, if you're interested in this, I think one of the best, I'm obviously biased towards my little book on religion, but I think one you want to, if you've only got one book in you, John Wathay, a neuroscientist, wrote the book, The Illusion of God's Presence. It was published, I think, in 2016. And he lays this out marvelously. I think it's a contribution to the science of religion that hasn't gotten the recognition it deserves. He has a new book on, it's called, I'm blacking on the name now, but it's about more about the neuroscience of religion. But his first book will, educate you like no other. So I hope so. And I think this is the basic fundament. This is one of the crucial, if not the most crucial, psychological mechanism that we all carry, that religions hijack. Think about if you had a child and you rocked that child. You're rocking that child, stimulating their vestibular system, which again is part of the attachment system. It soothes the baby, and the baby generally is laying on your chest, and on the left side of your chest, if you think about it, if you've had children, had babies, that left side of your chest, they're hearing your heartbeat, and they're rocking, their vestibular system is being stimulated, and it's again part of the attachment system. What do men do at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem? They're davening, this rhythmic movement. It's like they're stimulating their vestibular system as they're chanting. And again, they are intensely stimulating their attachment system. What about communion? What is communion? Communion is an authority, a parent feeding a child. And here you see the child being fed. What do we do when we take communion? We go up and we kneel, so we get down into the position of a child. The parent is above us, we're a child, and we are fed like we can't feed ourselves. And that again is stimulating that early powerful attachment system. Right. Some of you may have seen some of the coronation of King Charles, and we'll come back to some of this, but I choose it because it illustrates a lot of things about ritual and the functions of ritual. But I want you to look at what surrounds Charles here. Notice it is mostly children, right? And it again is stimulating at some unconscious level your attachment system. Who makes up the choir? Oh, and this basically, if you watched any of it or read about it, it was basically a medieval religious service. And it's a very rich example of much that I want to go over with you today. Notice what surrounds Charles. It's children. Who was the choir that was singing to him? It was a children's choir. Think about the music. Think about all your Christian hymns. They evoke the attachment system. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a poor wretch like me. Once I was lost, now I'm found. Right? It was grace. Look at the words of almost all Christian hymns will at some level evoke the attachment system. I mean, obviously there's a few like Onward Christian Soldiers that have to do with war. We'll get back to that. But I challenge you, think of your favorite Christian hymns. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home, right? Look at the lyrics. They're all about the attachment system. And there was a gospel group at the coronation. And I would encourage you, pull up the video of them singing, because what you will see is that they sing a hymn that has to do with basically praising a parent, a benevolent parent. It's the attachment system right there before you. And we'll come back to it later, but you will see that they're making beautiful music, they are singing, but they are moving, and they are moving symmetrically. And we'll come back to that in ritual. But again, at the heart of this is the early attachment system. Go to scripture. And once you get out of the slaughter and mayhem of the Old Testament, and even still some of it is in the Old Testament, a lot of your scripture is again going to evoke the attachment system. This is from Psalm 27. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. And I chose this picture deliberately because, again, it is a old, ancient mammalian system. You know, the elephants have it just like we do. All right, so that's the attachment system. Number 6, fancy name, decoupled cognition. And what this means is that we can decouple our cognition in time and place and mind and body. Time and place is what I was talking about earlier, which is right now, you're in Atlanta, and while you're listening to me, you can think about a conversation you might have with somebody who's in South Carolina. You can in next week. So you can move to a different place, a different time, and have a complicated social interaction with an unseen other in a different place in a different time. We take it for granted. It's part of our everyday, ordinary cognition. I can right now think about a patient I'm going to have to see on Monday that I'm kind of worried about, right? So that's time and place. We also decouple our cognition in mind and body. And this goes to how we can conceive of souls. This is an ancient burial in what is today Israel. It's an adolescent male, and this is all over the anthropologic record. And a set of antler horns were put in his grave. They clearly thought he would have some form of afterlife, and they put all sorts of things in his grave for him to have in the afterlife. If you think about it, what is Egyptian civilization? Egyptian civilization is this extraordinarily complex civilization built on the idea of an afterlife. How could we have the psychology of an afterlife? And again, it's very easy. And one of the things I hope you're starting to see is religious cognition is just one step from everyday, ordinary cognition. So I'm going to do it. I hope you can see it, but I'm going to hold up this apple here, and I want you to imagine that this is my brain, right? This is my brain, and so we're going to cut my brain in half, right? And this is the front of my brain right here. This is the back of my brain, and this is the midline structures of my brain. And it's in the midline that I can, this is where my own thoughts, my own feelings are processed in the midline. When I think about what you're thinking, that's in the midline. Okay. Now, if you were standing in front of me and I looked at your left arm, that's going to be processed on the outer cortex, right? If I'm looking at your left arm, I'm going to process that on my right cortex. And so I hope you see there's a split between mind and body that's built into our brains. And this allows us all sorts of things that we take for granted, but is actually extraordinary cognition, right? And it's what underlies what's called dualism, which is our brains represent minds and bodies in completely separate neural circuits. We experience and believe that minds and bodies are separate categories, even though we know differently. We know the mind is what the brain does, but I think that I have a body. I don't think I'm in a body. I have a body and I have a mind. And I view you all as having minds and bodies, but they're separate. What's the advantage of this? It's huge. If I had to have Bobby in front of me, where I could see him, to think about what he might want or what his preferences are or what he might want for this talk, that would be a real burden. I can think about him and his mind even before meeting him. And once meeting him, I can still think about, well, what does he, want for this talk today? What does his audience want? And so the belief in some form of life, mental life, that is apart and different from the body, that's just a default setting of the human brain. It's just automatic. We experience mind and bodies differently, and this allows for the idea of souls, which are basically bodiless minds that are out there, right? But we do that all the time. All the time. We can think about having a conversation with, President Biden. I've never met him, but I can think about a conversation that I might like to have with him, right? And it's automatic. Now, I would wager you that nobody, when I said in the beginning of my lecture, when I said, if you ran into Mr. Jefferson next week, I'm confident that none of the people in this audience went, what's he talking about? Run into Mr. Jefferson next week? I can't run into Mr. Jefferson. It's automatic. You can think about running into Mr. Jefferson and having a conversation with him, even though Jefferson is long dead, right? You can see, I hope, that that's just one little step with interacting with ancestors. We're not that many steps away from ancestor worship, right? And I'm at UVA, where until recently, Mr. Jefferson was a god and was worshipped. So that's another story. That was the sixth serving. So that's decoupled cognition. Number 7, hyperactive agency detection mechanisms, and this is crucial. Right now, wherever you are, if you heard a door slam, you would bolt. Your body would start to pour out adrenaline. Your body would get ready for fight flight, and you would act as if it's a human agent long before you would think it was the wind. And that's crucial, absolutely crucial, because a false positive, meaning that it wasn't a human being, a false positive is an inconvenience. You start to sweat a little bit and you got distracted, but you quiet your body down and you go back to business as usual. Now, if that door slammed and you thought it was just the wind, no big deal, but it was actually a predator, a tiger or another human being, that's a false negative and that's deadly. So we have inconvenience on one hand, deadly on the other. So our brains, because the consequences of a false negative are so severe, our brains evolved to be hyperactive agency detection. We see faces in the clouds. If there's something sudden or surprising, we're going to assume it's human until proven otherwise. You hear something downstairs in the middle of the night, you're going to think burglar long before you think it's a cat. Now, there's another thing that's connected to this, called minimally counterintuitive worlds. And this is a real crucial part of religion. I'm not familiar with Atlanta, but let's say there's a park in Atlanta that's got a famous old oak tree that's in the middle of the park, well-known, famous old oak tree in Atlanta. And if I tell you that that Atlanta oak will fix your computer, do your taxes, take your car to get fixed, you are simply not going to believe me. I hope not, because there are too many violations of treeness. There's just way too many violations of treeness. But if I tell you that that old oak in Atlanta, on the night of full moons, will hear your requests, you're going to be, even this audience, you're going to be a little bit vulnerable to get drawn into that. And the structure of that is there are almost no violations of treeness. There's just one little twist, which is a human twist, that tree will hear my prayers, can understand my Southern accented English, and can hear my prayers. Just has coupled human attributes, but no big violations of treeness. And these are called minimally counterintuitive worlds. And they're sort of the optimum compromise between the interesting and the expected. And they're always attention arresting and memorable. You're more likely to remember the tree that'll hear your wish. You'll remember that longer than the tree. You won't remember all the things I said the tree could do in terms of your taxes and car. But you'll remember that can hear your prayer for a little bit longer time. Right? What's the Virgin Mary? Right? The Virgin Mary, right, is basically, there are no violations of a young woman and baby, right? The attachment system, all right? A young woman and a baby, as human as it gets. There's one little twist. She didn't have to go through the usual prerequisites to have a child. She's a virgin, right? But it also indirectly hints at, well, maybe she, conceived of the child with God, but, it was an immaculate conception, so we can't charge the guy with rape. But you can, I think, start to see that it is a beautiful illustration of a minimally counterintuitive world. Almost no violations of young woman, child, kindness, and one little twist, she had an immaculate conception and had Jesus. And she's powerful. The Catholic Church has made her a deity. We pray to her, but she's a nice example of a minimally counterintuitive world. And the religious minimally counterintuitive worlds hijack this system that we have, hyperactive agency, our evolved expectations of the world, and what was crucial for survival, which is fitness. Fitness is survival and reproductive success. Survival requires that we pick up very quickly anomalies in our environment, because they could be deadly, and control of them may have been, was crucial for our survival. And how do they get forged into religion? Well, these minimally counterintuitive intentional agents become the Virgin Mary. They possess strategic information. The Judeo-Christian God is another big example of a minimally counterintuitive world. I mean, what is the Judeo-Christian God? He's an angry old man, right? And there are very few violations of angry old men. But he's got strategic information about me. He knows whether I've been naughty or nice. He interacts with the world. And I think one of the interesting things is, okay, he knows what I think and feel, but if he knows what I think and feel, why do I have to pray to him? That doesn't make any sense. But again, that keeps my having to pray to him keeps there from not being too many violations of humanness, right? And also, these minimally counterintuitive, powerful agents like God and the Virgin Mary motivate ritual. And these go into religion, rituals, costly devotions, fasting, prayers, taboos. And again, these are all going to be virtue signaling to show that I'm a loyal member of a group. I'm loyal to the God, but I'm also a loyal member of the group, of the whatever religious sect I'm a member of. And again, religion, the root word of religion is religare, which means to bind, social bonding, right? And we build credibly enhancing displays like monuments, cathedrals, churches, which are awe-inspiring and again, testaments to the commitment of our tribe to whatever religion we're part of. All right, so that's MCIs. The eighth serving on today's tapas menu is theory of mind. And again, this is just a fancy term for we can think about what other people believe, wish, and desire. And we can pick up signs in their face, in their emotions, in their eye gaze. There are all sorts of things that we use as cues, but we can spend a lot of time, as you know, thinking about what other people think, desire, believe, and want. Theory of mind. And there are a couple of, don't pay attention to the details here. Let me just go over it. There are two really fascinating imaging studies. One in 2009, actually done at NIH, Kapagiannis and his colleagues. And they took people and put them in scanning machines. And when people were thinking about God's feelings, when they were thinking about God's intentions, when they were thinking about religious scripture, the parts of their brain that lit up were those theory of mind mechanisms. I would submit to you, it's a very important paper because they showed that religious cognition was just utilizing everyday, ordinary mechanisms that we evolved to deal as social animals. Now, these images come from another paper by Epley and his colleagues, and this was interesting in that they took people and had them, they manipulated their beliefs, and what was fascinating is when they manipulated the person's belief, lo and behold, the person believed that God had changed his opinion in a similar direction. So it's a nice imaging study that shows that a person's religious beliefs are just projected onto whatever God they worship. And the lower right shows that God and the self were the same. When we think about somebody else's religious beliefs, we use slightly different mechanisms. But if we're thinking about our own beliefs and God's beliefs, they're basically unitary in our minds. And it's a wonderful paper. That's, again, hoping to show you that religious beliefs based on everyday, ordinary, evolved cognitive mechanisms, in this case, theory of mind. So how do religions spread? And they spread by a number of mechanisms. And these are the Kung San in Africa, who I'll come back to. And religions spread to the extent that they can facilitate further cooperation. And remember, we evolved to be ultra-social, ultra-cooperative species. So we're already heavily biased in that direction. So any religion that can facilitate in-group cooperativeness is going to have a head start. Also, they spread religions spread to the extent that they can reduce the limitations that kinship and reciprocity-based altruism relationships are in a group. So, I can join a religion or religious sect even if I'm not an actual brother or kin to somebody in the group. I can join a religion and become part of the religion even if I'm not in a reciprocity-based relationship with somebody where I'm scratching their back, they're scratching mine. I can still be a part of that and become part of the wider religion without those limitations. I ultimately may obviously, develop some reciprocity-based, help people, they help me, but the initial spread does not require that. Right? And once I'm in the religion, I'm going to often be referred to as brother or sister. Again, trying to evoke kin, trying to evoke which are the strongest relationships, trying to evoke kin, trying to evoke attachment relationships. Right. And they're going to also utilize our sensitivity to our pro-social reputation. All of us want to be thought of, or most all of us want to be thought of as pro-social, as cooperators, as good people who will sacrifice for others. Religions, again, hijack that, right? Religions also use moralizing and monitoring gods to facilitate cooperation. One aspect of being human is that if people are watching us, we're on better behavior. I don't know if you know the experiment where they put a coffee thing in an office, and you come up and you get a cup of coffee, and you're supposed to put some money in a cup. And if they put just 2 sets of plastic eyes above the coffee machine, the amount of money in the bowl increases. If you feel you're being watched, you behave a little bit better. And one of the main functions of gods is as monitors and moralizing monitors. Right. So back to the Kung San. And something that is very important, I think, to understanding religions in our world and rituals. If you look at the Kung San in Africa and the Andaman Islanders off the coast of India, they were an isolated population until the 18th century. I think actually until the 19th century. And then you look at the Aborigines. They all have almost identical religions based on song, dance, and trance. And Nicholas Wade powerfully argues that that is a window into deep history. That's a window into the original religion of our hunter-gatherer ancestors, and echoes of those religions, I'll show you, are to be found in all modern-day religions. So the Kung San of Africa. And religions, I love this is from Jonathan Haidt. Religions work to suppress our inner chimp, our selfishness, not putting the money in the coffee bowl, suppress our selfishness, our inner chimp, and bring out our inner bee. What's the bee? The eusocial animal, ultra cooperative, ultra social. Right? The Andaman Islanders, the Aborigines. All 3 religions based on song, dance, and trance. No priests, no ecclesiastical hierarchy. So one function of religion in those hunter-gatherer groups we're inevitably a hierarchical species, and we sort of tamp that down in the original religion. There's a greater equality. It's the whole community, and distinctions of rank are suppressed. And it's centered on rhythmic physical activity. Now, why? Because our ancestors literally stumbled into a way to harness our neurobiology in very, very powerful ways. All of you've heard of serotonin. That's the neurotransmitter that Prozac boosts. Serotonin is one of the oldest monoamine neurotransmitters, and it's crucial for self-esteem. You boost serotonin, you get a rise in self-esteem. If tomorrow we made Bobby president of the United States, even if he didn't want the job, if we made him president, his serotonin levels would go up. The status, the improved status, his serotonin system would be exploding, and his self-esteem would go up simply because he was catapulted on status, right? So serotonin boosts self-esteem. Norepinephrine and dopamine, adrenaline and dopamine. We tend to think of these as like dopamine, the pleasure chemical, but norepinephrine and dopamine are crucial for memory, attention, and focus. They mark things as memorable. When something really stands out in your memory, it has been marked with dopamine and norepinephrine. All of you've heard of oxytocin, the trust hormone, right? So again, these rituals boost oxytocin. Endorphins, our own internal morphine system, which diminishes pain. But most people don't appreciate that endorphins boost bonding. Endorphins are a crucial bonding hormone. Right? And Darwin, Darwin saw this. He saw that musical notes and rhythm, first acquired by the male or female of mankind for the sake of charming the opposite sex. Music is crucial for courtship, as everybody knows. Musical tones become firmly associated with the strongest passions an animal is capable of feeling. Love, attachment, commitment, cooperation, bonding. Right, now, if we, this is a beautiful experiment. If we take Bobby and we put him on a rowing machine, and we have Bobby row for a few minutes on the rowing machine, and you can measure work output, so we know exactly what his work output is on the rowing machine. And then we take Bobby and we put a blood pressure cuff on, and we squeeze it until he feels pain, right? And we measure his pain threshold. Now we put Bobby back on the rowing machine, but this time he's got two people on either side of him rowing synchronously with Bobby, right? And they do the same work output, exact same work output. Now we test Bobby's pain threshold, and it's gone way up. It takes a lot more squeezes on the blood pressure cuff to get close to that pain. Same work output, but he is moving symmetrically with other people, right? He's moving in rhythm, and we have changed his endorphin level, right? Touch is very, very powerful. And I don't know really any of the women in the audience, but I'll assume somebody's out there who will be a volunteer. And
who you want?
I'm sorry?
You want me to bring somebody up?
No, they don't have to come up. Just give me a name.
Miss Tiffany.
Tiffany, okay. That's right. She was on the email. All right. Mm-hmm. Tiffany, okay. So we're going to put Tiffany in an imaging machine, right? And she's lying there in an imaging machine, and she's shown a threat scenario. And her amygdala, the fear center of her brain, just explodes, right? Okay, then we have Tiffany hold the hand of a stranger, and we show her the threat scenario again, and her amygdala still lights up, but it doesn't light up anywhere near as much. and she's holding the hand of a stranger. Then the third thing is that we have Tiffany in the imaging machine, and we have her hold the hand of somebody she knows, a close friend, a romantic partner, but somebody she knows, and she's holding the hand of that individual. We show the threat scenario again, and her amygdala barely lights up. Even more interesting, the degree to which Tiffany's amygdala does not light up is proportional to her ratings of the relationship. So the more she rates it as a close, good relationship, the less her amygdala lights up. And the only variable here is holding a hand, right? Touch. That's it. Touch is very, very powerful. And when we wanted touch, let me be clear, it is wanted touch. So if you come up to a loved one, to a friend, and you just put your hand on their shoulder and give it a little bit of a squeeze, they're going to get a hit of endorphins and oxytocin, and the idle speed of their frontal lobe will come down a little bit. Touch is much more powerful than we ever appreciated. Now, I don't know how many of you saw in 2012 when Barack Obama was nominated to run for his second term. And at the Democratic National Convention, Bill Clinton gave just an unbelievable nominating speech for President Obama. What most people did not realize is that these two men hated each other, absolutely hated each other. And it was like the Mideast peace negotiations getting these two men back together. And they managed to find a truce. It was a tense truce, but it was a truce. So Clinton gives this fantastic speech. Then he comes off the podium, and as he comes off the podium, out from behind the curtain comes Obama. And the crowd obviously just goes wild. And these two men hug each other. And Obama is not just hugging him, but he is stroking Clinton's back like there's no tomorrow. And you see a tear out of Clinton's left eye. And what these men didn't know is that this was a powerful moment of conciliation through touch.
Man, that was a great lecture, man. I had regular conversations, man, with Dr. Andy. I suggest you find professionals to have these conversations with, as to not to allow the pseudos to dive in with a whole bunch of blam, blam, bam, bam, boom. So I just wanted to raise the level of our thinking about what religion is and what is not. And so I'll introduce a timeline to you. As a matter of fact, I already put the link in there. If you got any questions, I'm very familiar with the lecture. I understand the situation clear. I think this community game always need to get raised up. This is what we regularly talk about in the community of skeptics. And for certain and for sure, there's a timeline for religion. And it is to say religion has been a factor of human experience throughout history, from prehistory to modern times. The bulk of human religious experience predates recorded history, which is roughly 7,000 years old. A lack of written records results in most of the knowledge of prehistoric religion being derived from archaeological records and other indirect sources and from suppositions. Much of prehistoric religion is subject to continued debate. Everything is always subject to continued debate. And this is how science works. It's not a religion. Middle Paleolithic, 200,000 BCE to 50,000 BCE. Despite claims by some researchers of bear worship, belief in the afterlife, and other rituals, current archaeological evidence does not support the presence of religious practices by modern humans or Neanderthals during this period. So Homo sapiens is actually 350,000 years. So at this point, if your mind not saying, wow, We lived a large portion of our existence not even having religion. Okay? Then they talk about the earlier burials in the Middle East and the earlier known Homo sapiens sapiens burial child in East Africa, somewhere between 78,000, 74,000. Neanderthal burials in Europe, 70, 35,000 between that. Then the 50th and 11th millennium, early anatomically correct humans, that's modern humans, buried near Lake Mugu, and so forth, and all the way up to the written time periods. So it's a deep study, man, of how and why we believe. These things become very clear as the student studies the information. Never forget that scientific theories actually organize scientific facts. Science works in approximates. Religion works in 100%. Because you 100% know that Jesus Christ died for your sins. And that is the problem. There's no room for correction. And in situations where there's no room for correction, then there's no correction. You just be wrong and don't know it. Most people know enough about a subject to know when they right, but most people don't know enough about a subject to know when they wrong. I say it real slow. Most people know enough about a subject to know when they right, but most of us don't know enough about a subject to understand when we're wrong. And we fight through it. Wrong is 2 left feet. I call it ignorance. It's not a negative thing. Humans start their life off as ignorant, and they're taught things and they're educated things. The process of education should be grasped. You should hold on to it. Education is essential for survivability on Earth. Science is essential. Where can we get the clean drinking water that does not kill us? How can we heal ourselves? How can we treat ourselves? Pseudoscience can't heal you. Just prolong your daggone death. Religious thinking is religious thinking. Humans forged religious thinking. The brain, the evolutionary process, the lecture that you just heard, talked about these different processes, talked about religion as being a byproduct. Meaning the evolutionary processes was co-opted by those that were religious and pushed their agendas, whether negative or positive. It also promoted group togetherness. You feel comfortable when you're around other Hebrew Israelites talking that talk. You feel comfortable when you're in groups of people who don't believe talking that talk. Most people go to church because of familiarity. We're familiar with the conversation. We come in, we worship, we leave. When did God start watching football games and allowing us to catch touchdowns? Is the question I want to know. Man, hit that link, man. We in here, man. Hour and a half of fire, man. Y'all got any questions? Y'all want to bring something up? What y'all want to do? Tell you what, man. Y'all got to hit the daggone Cash App, man. Y'all playing. Y'all can see the rest of that on the Community Skeptics channel. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to the damn Community Skeptics, man. We had this conversation all the time in regular occurrences because that's just what we do. We are skeptical of things that humans say. Yeah, you better be. We're not just sitting around letting you blow smoke. We're not just sitting around letting you say anything. No, sir. Because that's what people want to do. They want to talk you to death. We ain't going to let you talk us to death. No, sir. But drop the link. I dropped that link, man. Where you at, man? Y'all must have got a serious dose. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to the families of channels, man. Make sure you subscribe to the community of skeptics, man. We're at about 4,300. We want to get it to 5,000, man. Get on the panel. Had a lot of talking in the chat. Get up here and express yourself. We want to hear what you got to say. Big up to Ben Eaton, man. That's my man right there. 30 grand. I'm going to say 300 grand. Always appreciate your conversation. We trying to get you in the mix with whatchamacallit. Well, I forgot his name. I don't know what's his name. He be coming up here preaching. What? What did he say? Let me see. The question is, do you still say we when referring to a team that you don't play with? I don't know what the hell you talking about, man. You've been, hey, man. Yeah, you've been having some wild. You probably need to look in the mirror and I don't know what you talking about, man. Yeah, I can't. You over my head, bro. Ain't nothing wrong with that, though. You definitely over my head, man. Over my head, bro. Nothing I can do. Nothing I can do with that. Take them questions in the chat, man. What we got here, man? You listening to the God Killer, man? On the sa.neter TV network, man. House of Conscience, man. Black News 102, man. Debate Coliseum, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Man, big up to everybody, man. Big up to the barbarians, man. Always coming to get them. No, I don't, bro. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying, man. I don't know what you're saying. Does anybody know what Sub-Zero is saying? He seems to be in a Sub-Zero. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Can anybody help him out? Because I can't. Uncomprehendable. Is that a word? Anyway, man. Hey, I think that lecture on religion kind of shined through. Kind of shine through. Don't nobody know what you're talking about there, bro. We can't figure it out. You got to decode it, yo, for us less intelligent people. Decode it. Man. So, man, I enjoyed this, man. I hadn't heard that in a while, man. That full joint is on Community Skeptics, man. Dr. Andy, so I'm going to give him a call later on in the week just to brushing up. He named some good books to get. All right. Let's see. If I can find another book, let's see. Hold on. See if we can find a book. Can we find this book? We got him right there, man.
What it do, God Killer?
Doing, man. What's up with you, brother?
Yeah, that was a good one from Dr. Andy, man. I wonder if Zion, our good friend Zion, was listening to that one and what he thinks. He always looks for a psychological approach, but I keep telling him, what you're using science wrong. Again, you're using science to justify, and we use science to quantify. It's a different process. That was a great lecture. Every time I hear him, I get something new out of it.
Fire. Here's the website, man. Y'all can get the book, man. Get the book, man. Dr. Andy is a serious dude, man. All right. Why we believe in God.
Yeah.
That's that book right there. That's that fire right there. You can get it on Amazon for $10, yo. All right. Why we believe in God, yo. Yeah. A concise guide to the science of faith. Why We Believe in Gods. Forward by Richard Dawkins, author of God Delusion. Don't be afraid, man. Tap in. Yeah, y'all gotta tap in. Just tap in, man.
Shameless plug. Let me y'all stay tuned for Set Talks. First episode coming soon. I appreciate what you did, God Killer, because we really need to slow some of these conversations down. And
Hey, talk, man.
the first episode, we gonna get into what is science, how do we use science, what science does, and what it can't do, because there's too much confusion on science. I see individuals, which we are proud of, willing to engage and pick up the books and do the work. But now we have to take it to the next step, the discipline required, the the discipline required to engage in science, right? You can't do what you want. It is not open for your interpretation. They are very strict measures. You got a straight jacket on when you're doing science. And that's something that people have to learn to get used to, become disciplined. And I think it's necessary to slow the conversation down a little bit. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. We start calling you TED Talk, bro. All superheroes need a name. TED Talk. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is the egg, and out of the egg,
Yeah.
they could give birth to an egg. Man, come on, man. We easy working around here, man.
Hey.
Dr. Andy Thompson, man. We need to get more experts in our life, right? Black experts, white experts, purple experts, green expert, finer expert on the subject matter, man. Stop letting them confuse you, bro.
Yeah.
Pseudo-wisdoms, man. Just giving y'all some of my weapons. That's why I'm never losing, man. Never losing around here, bro. This is easy work there, Cedric.
Yes, sir. Gotta slow the conversation down. Know what you are talking about. When we having these discussions, it's necessary. You need coaching. You need coaching. You need coaching. You need support. You need a network around you, and you have to build and stand on the shoulders of our elders, and in this case, of the academics, right? Because they give you the proper perspective. When you have an idea, you shoot that idea by an academic, and they would understand the flaws and pick them out a lot easier than you would be able to. Again, we know enough to know when we're right, but most of us don't have the skills to know when our thought processes are wrong. We keep saying science is counterintuitive, and far too often we see people trying to engage based on their rationality. And we get confused and we get convoluted. So yeah, we're gonna slow some of these conversations down. How do we use haplogroups? What do they say? What information can we derive from them actually? Can we use haplogroups to determine race, color, creed, sex, any of that? Can we actually do that? Can we talk about skin, about ethnicities, and couple that with haplogroups? Is that how this information is done? So again, we've been saying it. Evolution. What does it mean? Does it mean the transformation from one single entity into something else? What does it mean? The chicken came before the egg. What does evolution actually mean? So I'm gonna slow all these conversations down, right, one by one, so that we learn the proper terminology and actually what they mean, so that we engage more holistically when we're having these conversations. I see too many errors. People think when we talk about migration that the dude that left Africa is the same dude that reached that other place. Most likely he didn't. His successive generations that reached there. Right? When we talk about changes in these haplogroups, it's in populations, not in an individual. So the time spans that we need to cover is immense. So yeah, we need to slow it down a little bit. That's what I'm gonna do.
We had some earlier questions, bro, like who's the first? There's no such thing as the first human.
Yeah.
Talking about population, y'all on Adam and Eve with God made man. God reached down into the dirt and grabbed man out of the dirt. Behold, man has become like one of us. I have blown into him My
The breath of
spirit.
life. The breath of life.
And out of this man has come. Man is lonely. He needs a help me. I will put
The
man to
man
sleep, and
to
out of
sleep.
his rib, I will produce the mother of all living. This process took place in Turkey. This is a Hebrew story. Lord, behold. Yeah, that's what most y'all on. Y'all got to get out of that.
You good at it, bro. You good. You good.
y'all on that. You on that. And then when you get off that, then you get to the cosmic force. It's the cosmic elementary forces from the 19th galaxy.
Yeah.
The
It's
Most High.
the,
Yes.
the
Has
interplay
placed
of
everything.
cosmic energies.
The Most High. The force. Yeah. Yeah. When I talk about science, y'all talk about I'm a police, I'm an agent, I'm all that. I'm an agent of change. Never forget that. Captain Agent of Change is me. And
You
if you get
know,
on my nerves, I'll be Bobby Ray's beta.
in the modern world where we have evolution, where we have genetics, and most people understand genetics. You know how ignorant it is to hear people talk about Japhet. They're these are the fathers of existence. Ham, Japhet, and what's the next one? The three,
I don't know.
Moses,
I'm
three kids.
Moses, the three sons. Let me move to this question. I don't know. What would it take for evolution to be a fact? Evolution is a fact and a theory, sir.
Yeah, it is a fact.
The theory organizes the scientific fact. It's uncontrovertible. Let me get this up here.
Uncontroversible. And what makes it a fact is just look around you. You cannot deny that there's a diversity of life around you. That's a simple fact of reality. Look outside and you are going to see a diversity of life.
Mm-hmm. You say, look outside, you can find
it. Evolution is a fact. The diversity of life is what evolution means. And coincidentally, we use the same term to explain the mechanism. So the theory of evolution explains the fact of evolution. Counterintuitive, I know. Evolution means variety of life, change in allele over time. That produces the variety of life forms you see. We have animalia, we have plant life, and we have the bacterial life, fungus, etc. These three domains. That's life. And when you look outside, you see it. It's a matter of fact. Now, how do we explain the diversity that we see? We explain it by evolution again. So evolution is both a theory, which explains the fact of evolution, which is what we see the diversity of life. That is not so difficult to understand. Let me see if we got any other questions. Diversity doesn't prove evolution. No, evolution explains the diversity. So now we see evolution, the fact of diversity of life, that is a fact. Now we go into the mechanism, science. Evolution, the theory of evolution explains why we see this diversity. We have natural selection, we have genetic drift, we have mutations, we have bottlenecking, all these mechanisms which play a role in evolution, right? So yes, diversity is explained by evolution, and the diversity is a fact of evolution. So it's interchangeable. It's interchangeable. Oh, that's a great question, Posterior Slot. What would it take for God to be a fact? Me and you, us? I don't understand what that means. Trying to Stay with what you mean. So do you understand that evolution is both a fact and a theory, and that when we talk about evolution in terms of a theory, it explains the diversity that we see. So the diversity, yes, diversity proves evolution. Without evolution, you do not have this diversity, and the mechanisms are illustrative or indicative of why you have the diversity. Any more questions? Yeah. I'm just seeing if you have any. What science says man's come from? Uh, uh, Man, human beings are a part of the natural order of things. We are an evolutionary byproduct of life, right? So in the evolution of life, human beings evolved from that. We are not distinct or separate from the process of evolution. We are part and parcel of it. So we come from this planet as an evolutionary byproduct of life. That's just what we are. Dun, dun. Going through the questions here to see if you got any questions. Please, peace from the UK. Peace, Ricardo Robinson. What does science say about afterlife? It does not make any claim about afterlife. Once the biological processes stop, there's a deterioration process that takes place, and most of your organic matter and inorganic matter goes back to nature. So that's the circle, the cyclical nature of existence. For life to, something has to die for life to come. That's the vicious circle. So there is no what happens in the afterlife. If you want to talk about the afterlife, you go back to feeding nature. This your body, your physical being breaks down, and it goes back into nature. That's the circle. Napah sounds a bit pseudo sometimes, man. With regards to Napah, shout out to Napah. Napah is growing extremely well, and she has, in my opinion, developed the ability, which is paramount, to separate her science from her spirituality. And once that is the case, I see no reason for someone to not engage in forms of spirituality. Right? That is part and parcel of the human experience. Once you keep it separate from your science, I don't see it as a major issue at any point. As a matter of fact, I think Napah is going to completely put belt to ass in that debate upcoming against Naphtali. I am God. Yes, you indeed are. I believe I can fly, and I will not let anyone take that that idea away from me. But here's where you deal with epistemology, right? My belief that I can fly will never be put to the epistemic test or try to be made empirical, because, yeah, for a fact, knowledge lets me know that belief can never be put into existence. Evolution is a fact. Well, again, yes, shout out to Napah. Yeah, evolution is a fact, but again, a lot of us, we come with a lot of baggage, and science is counterintuitive. So and with the whole amount of baggage, the ape claims, the monkey claims, the blackface, it is there's a certain level of reluctance by us to accept and embrace these concepts, but it doesn't change the fact that evolution is just a matter of fact. It's just the reality. Yes, Sub-Zero is suggesting that referring to oneself as a team member of a team that exists virtually, such as on TV, is a psychological disorder. No, there are teams. There are teams that work in different formats, and our ability to communicate has changed those dynamics. Right? We are a pseudo killers team. We have a Discord where we meet, we discuss ideas, we jump up on these platforms, we support each other. So although our contact is not direct, all right, the intent and the purpose within the relationship is still the same. So yes, we are a team. Ankh is on the phone right now, and I am, as a team member, carrying the weight, right? In terms of a team needing to be physically together, that is based on the task at hand. When the task is scientific communication by means of these social media platforms, the physicality isn't a necessary component. So that is not a psychological disorder. It is understanding that cooperation takes different forms in terms of how and where it's applied, right? You have a basketball team needs to be physically together to operate, right? However, a social media team that promotes scientific literacy does not really need that physicality, although we can communicate almost physical. We have a virtual communication. We can see each other. We can interact. So it is changing how we define these terms based on the reality and how we communicate, not necessarily meaning that's a psychological disorder to refer to the serial killers as a team, for example. What causes the electrical charge of atomic particles? That's a whole science in itself. And then we could go and look it up and break it down. Maybe I'll do a show on that. Imagine a person sitting on a couch watching a game on a TV, and as they monitor the score, they state, "We just scored a touchdown and now we are winning." That's a psychological phenomenon or a disorder. That is exactly what Dr. Andy was talking about, right? That connection, that necessity to feel part of. That's human nature, right? So it's a we thing because that's my team. That affiliation, that connection that you make automatically makes you part and parcel of it. Oh, thought there was someone at the door. But yes, that is psychology. Our ability to unite and empathy, right? We pretty much can feel or imagine what the other is feeling. That creates that relationship, that connection. It is a psychological one, but not necessarily a disorder. It's part of human nature to feel that connection and that interconnectedness. But that's a good observation. Yes, you feel like you're part of that team because of your emotional bond to it for whatever stimuli is satisfied in that agency, that belonging to. You can't answer it, and that's my point. There is only so far you can go with silence. You know, you're trying to prove a point now. I'm going to go and look up the data and I'm going to present it to you. Because I don't know it off my head or don't want to use colloquial terms when explaining something like that, doesn't mean we don't know it. I'm going to go look up the data, explain it to you, and then what you're going to do, you're going to pick up the goalpost and move it again because you're trying to get to the place where we talk about the God of the gaps. Assuming an agent must imply this intelligence, but you can't provide any source or any fact for this agent. If intelligence is required at the beginning, how is it possible that we are acquiring knowledge? So the acquisition of knowledge means that there was no knowledge in the beginning. Think about that for a second. Yeah, but it's a real one of those gotcha questions. You can't. Okay, all right. So let's answer that stupid question now and get it over with. All right? Boom, boom, boom. So the question is, what generates? What's the question again? And that's my point. Blah blah blah. Because I think the question has a assumption in there. So let's see if the question is indeed valid to begin with. See, that's the first thing. You never acquiesce to faulty premise. Is the question valid? And here we go with consciousness and intelligence. Exactly where I thought we were going. This is a God of the gaps fallacy to interject intelligent design. But these questions always come by undermining science, but not ever illustrating or indicating an actual source, right? So you try to undermine what we know to posit God to the gap, but don't have any explanation in and of yourself other than God did it. So when I ask, but how did God did it? Explain the mechanism. So your ignorance remains profound. But you rather be able to say God did it so you don't have to think about it. But God did it doesn't provide you with any information. That is just to ease your ignorance, to make ignorance okay. I don't know, but God did. I don't know, but God did. So that is a way to
believe.
yes, to stay ignorant and be comfortable.
Yeah, don't be comfortable in your ignorance. Let's deal with some of the chat real quick. It say there has always been knowledge. Correct. Nature has been here for at least 4.2 billion
Billion years.
Earth, right? I'm saying life, right? Nature is what the Big Bang. We start to recognize that the Big Bang is where we mark time as far as trying to understand the cosmos, right? 13.7 billion years or something like that. So yes, information, nature has always been here. Now is man trying to man being exclusive of man and women, right? We're trying to understand our reality, we're trying to put it together. So science is a tool for that, right? I want to make that clear. It's a tool for that. Okay. Now, this point right here, how is believing in the missing link? You mean missing link any different than believing in God? Neither one can. It say or have been proven. God of the gaps. So scientists don't even use that term. That's not a scientific term, the missing link. There are no missing link. Everything is always evolving. Nothing is static. Everything is a link to the past. I'm gonna say this again. Everything is a link to the past, right? The fossil record is incomplete because that's one of the hardest things to put is a fossil. Everything don't fossilize. Things get missing. So there's going to be pieces, okay, missing. Of course it is. So we link it together. So like once you understand the human anatomy, it's like understanding the different parts in the engine. If you find a couple parts, you can build a whole engine and figure out which engine was it. Was it an engine to a tractor trailer or was it an engine to a Honda? Once you got the parts, you can put it together. You don't need all the parts. You just have to understand a tractor trailer engine. And you can put it back together with all the parts. If you understand the skeletal system, you don't need all the parts, right? You can just reconstruct it. So They reconstruct things. They reconstruct fossils. That's a simple explanation of it. I get it. That's why it's important for y'all to go back and look at the lecture, man. You know what I mean? And once you get it, your mind, you can unlock right now, you reach the ceiling. Because you sitting there thinking it's a missing link.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get out that room. You don't got the key. So I just gave you the key to get out of the room that says we can't prove a missing link. Take that key, open up the room, and then figure out why. Said, you know, I gave you that time to do your thing. Talk. TED Talk, bro.
I was dealing with some questions from the chat. Yeah,
That's right.
I
That's right.
think I held it down. I think I held it down.
125,000 in the room, yo. All right, man. We got our first cash app. Hey, Chris, man, appreciate you, man. That's love, yo. Now we gotta get 4 more. What we doing, man? What we doing, man? I'm gonna drop the cash app link, man. If y'all enjoyed this class, man, we're gonna have them every day. But y'all gotta show some love, man. Ain't just sitting up here tripping, man. I want to make sure y'all support Said Talk too, man. He can be having this conversation the way he want to have this conversation. Ain't nobody telling him how to have it. Don't say this, don't say that. That's his conversation, man. He know how he want to do it, right? And if you shake it, don't poke the bear. How about that? Don't put your religion out there. Don't try to apply scientific concepts to your religion if you don't want to get. That's poking the bear. Yeah, that is. All right. So I just drop that right there. Drop the cash app. Y'all got to show some love in there, man. And we just producing good content over here, man. That's important, and it's essential to our growth, man. Right? Our growth has to be based in the natural world, or else we're not really growing. We fronting, and that's real talk right there. What you learn for your growth, scientific literacy, financial literacy, will help you grow, will help you be stable. And if that's not important, then you will never know what's important. Food, clothing, shelter, yo.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That and these are the two main instruments you need to get you there. With all the rest of it, without scientific literacy, without financial literacy, you are not a functioning human being, neither for yourself, your family, or by extension, your community. So the work we do is nothing to do with your beliefs. We're not trying to do. We are giving you the tools to be successful in everyday life. Right? It is how you invest that $100 instead of getting scammed. Instead of getting scammed, to investing in some good stock, right?
Yeah, don't let them get scammed, Cedric. Man, make sure y'all support the debate. It's the toughest environment, man. You was here with Brother Ankh, man, and Said Talk doing our thing, man. Yeah, hey, big up to you, Said. I see you tonight, man.
Yo.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
You have to earn your respect. And when you do, you make their ass regret. They call it the toughest. And the title is earned from the bridges we crossed and the lessons we learned. In a cold-blooded kingdom, a concrete cage. Muslim, Christian, Israelites step on the stage. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. In a cold-blooded kingdom, sa.neter created. HOK, where you can't fake it. The HOK is where you fight back. No room for error, no window attack. It's a masterclass, how you handle the heat. Where the pedigree is written on the concrete streets. Toughest environment, yeah, we know the score. Locked in on debate and asking for more. The HOK is the toughest environment. Enter at your own risk, it's the toughest environment. The HOK is the toughest environment. Stay strong, don't cry. It's the toughest environment. Yeah.
I'm your host, Bobby Banger, aka God Killer. Make sure y'all support these debates, man. They are essential to our learning. Monkey or man, did all humans come from Africa? It's an important debate in 2026. Couple that with the two lovely ladies, Napah and Naphtali. All we animals and primates. These two debates go hand in hand, man. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Support the community skeptics. Support the family at the House of Consciousness, man. Institution, man. Big up the sa.neter, man. And with that, we out. And yeah, yo, it's the toughest environment.